And we got a video. 3, 2, 1. And we're live with Douglas Nelson. We're going to talk about some hacked up Italians.
Yeah. They slice them real thin so they melt in the gravy.
That explains the motive then. That mystery's solved.
Well, we are talking about the killing spree. Well, by the way, welcome back, dear listeners, to the True Crime History Month. And we're going to be it's the only thing I can think of February having to do crime. So we're going to talk tonight about our guest, Douglas Nelson here. He hipped us to a more obscure but nonetheless fascinating period in history in the 1900s in the city of New Orleans, where it's an unsolved string of murders, somewhat, at least in folklore, attributed to one Axeman. And I think we can put this to bed tonight, boys. What do you think?
Oh, really? This is news to me.
I don't know. So basically, it was a load of Italian grocers who got
got.
Yeah, they got the heads.
Yeah, they got
the heads caved in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
and there's a sort of a bit of an arc to this show. Really, we recently covered the Philadelphia nativist riots with Dave Temple, which were a little while before this. But this is about the time of the Sacco and Vanzetti goings on, which we were talking about recently as well. The anarchists in up on the
Massachusetts.
East Coast.
Yeah.
And it's sort of all the true crime podcasts take exactly the same angle on this, which is basically they regurgitate Robert Tallant's writings about it from around the time. And but I mean, this has some elements of nativist. It could be motivated by some kind of nativist sort of anti-Catholic, anti-Italian feeling. Yeah.
It's pretty hard to avoid the conclusion there, considering, of course, the victims. Plus, it's also apparently a hatred of grocery stores, as they all seem to be.
Which I can relate to, by the way.
Yeah, but look at it this way. If you're a married guy, don't you hate department stores even more?
Oh, well,
I don't have that kind of marriage, William. I don't appreciate the implication that I'm a bitch. So I have no qualm with the department store, particularly the electronics department, where is my home.
All right, you actually enjoy going to the department store.
Yeah, whenever I set foot in a store, it's there for me to buy something.
Right.
No.
And I'm supposed to be the gay one on this show.
I saw this awesome pair of slip-on shoes there. Anyway, Doug, you're from Louisiana. I don't know if are you actually from the New Orleans area?
No, I'm not. Of course, I've been there quite a bit, but I'm not old enough to remember the actual era.
I would hope not.
But it's one of those. It takes on a legendary status and that sort of thing. About it's one of the creepy stories that happens,
right?
And it's sort of like, hey, we got our own Jack the Ripper, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't everybody want one?
Yeah.
And,
about time.
Yeah. And so, of course, had it been solved, it would still, have some sort of legendary status, but it adds to the allure of it that you don't really know who did it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Yorkshire, and our Ripper.
Yes.
Jack the Ripper was a London thing, but our Yorkshire Ripper, unfortunately, I had my whole life planned out as a tour guide on Bradford red light area ghost walks to weave the story of the
theater
unsolved
by any chance
murders.
when you were a kid?
to weave the story of the unsolved murders of the Yorkshire Ripper, but God damn it, they solved it. So that's my career down the fucking toilet.
Right.
Yeah, it just ruins all the specialness about it.
Yeah.
I did actually.
All the allure.
Yeah,
I did actually study drama in high school.
Oh, okay. I see how it is. It's funny.
Light on the loafers.
Well, we knew that. But no, the thing that's interesting to me about this, and I think you're right, does have to do with the fact that he was never caught, or he or they or whoever it may be that did these murders.
Yeah, we don't know how they identify.
That's true. Yeah. How Z identifies.
Yes, be very careful. Yeah. Well, I believe if it was his letter, he did send supposedly the killer sent a letter to the local paper.
That's a good jumping off point.
Yeah, he claims he was actually a demon or spirit, so it identifies as that. So to be clear, it was never really human.
Well, we must respect however the person identifies themselves. So.
That's true.
Exactly.
It's what are they called? Otherkin.
Yeah. I'd probably call that identifying as a demon. I think that comes under the heading of queer.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Let me read that. It's actually, here's the thing. And I did hear one interview. I think, William, you listened to this one too, with a lady who recently wrote a book about the subject. And kind of aimed to put to bed some of the more salacious things about it.
Right.
One of the things was that she said that there's almost no chance, based off of the modus operandi of the killer, that this guy wrote this letter.
Right.
This was clearly written.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not him.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the exact same thing happens in so many of these type of cases.
Yeah.
Right.
Brings us back to the Yorkshire Ripper, which the West Yorkshire police spent several years trying to track down this guy based on a series of tapes that are taunting the police that have been sent in from a guy with a Wearside accent, which is kind of like that man, Oh, well, I've been killing all the prostitutes in Leeds, and you're never gonna catch me because I'm too fucking clever for you, copper. Right, and that was the. I mean, it's just like the credulity of the public and the police that the police put all their efforts into tracking this guy down, and they did eventually, and it wasn't him. So
surprise. Yeah. I mean, there's some cases where they're, like the Zodiac letters were more than likely true.
Recently, the most recent one of those ciphers was decoded, by the way.
Yeah, I saw the decode. I can't remember word for word, but I was like, well, this doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah, of course it doesn't, by the way.
So he wasn't that stupid to actually leave his name in the letter.
Yeah, he did say that there was a highly, sorry to get off topic here, but in the Zodiac thing, there was a pretty well-known part of the story is that a guy who called into a television show aimed to be him. And in the decoded letter, he said that guy on the television show on the phone wasn't me.
Right.
That was one of the things he said.
Yeah.
Even he wanted to be debunked.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to
I wonder if the real code was that he called himself the Zodiac Killer, but it was he was giving a clue as to his means of getaway, that he was actually traveling around the Bay Area in a rubber dinghy.
Why Zodiac a brand? Yeah, we don't get this reference. What's going on?
It's the main brand of high quality rubber boat.
Maybe in your fucking country. Sorry,
for the English listeners.
I was going to say that the reason he called himself the Zodiac Killer is because he's a chick, because only chicks believe in the Zodiac.
Yeah, could be that.
Yeah. Well, maybe he identified as a chick again.
Yeah, there we go.
Because people did see him. There were some descriptions.
Right.
but there is another interest. I mean, now, granted, I think we've all concluded that the Axeman letter was fake, but he does
Right.
refer to himself as demonic and all that.
Yeah,
sort of
I have
stuff,
it right here. if
trying
you
to
want me
scare
read it.
people. Yeah, I got it too.
Which, by the way, also a lot of people speculate that he was actually directly referencing the Jack the Ripper story, by the way, because he signs it from Hottest Hell. That's the furthest thing. And it's
the one
hell
letter
Jack
that
the
people
Ripper.
speculate might actually been from the Jack the Ripper killer was the From Hell letter. The Jack the Ripper one, of course, everybody knows is fake. Maybe. But there's that similarity to it. There's also some similarity to Zodiac, in which he referred to his victims as he was collecting slaves for the afterlife, like they were going to be his slaves in hell and that sort of thing. And the Axeman kind of says the same thing. But,
So what if a guy came up to you, right, and he had the drop on you and he offered you the following proposal? You can I'm either going to kill you and you can be my slave in the afterlife, or I'll let you live and you can be my butler, like on Seinfeld.
I was going to say like in Seinfeld.
Which would you choose?
Well,
I would probably go with the afterlife.
Would you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then you
I'd
get
go with
killed.
the butler because it's temporary. I mean, afterlife is eternal, isn't it? So
That's what I was thinking. I'm with you.
I'm Jewish. I'm not going to heaven.
No, I'm gay, so neither am I.
Oh no! Look, I'll put in a good word for you.
I appreciate it. Oh, good old St. Pete.
Yeah. These guys are all right.
I will say this. That there is a lot of evidence that a lot of these killings may have been here. I guess we should go in order, or should we pick out the interesting ones?
I have
victims.
A list here. So this woman who wrote this book, Miriam C. Davis, is pretty strongly of the opinion that the killings started in 1910. Right. Whereas the common knowledge is that they started in 1918.
Right.
And like she claims to have sort of consulted with profilers and people who work in this field and stuff. And it does, if you look at all the killings together, there does seem to be like a escalation going on that you can see, like one thing leading to another.
Right.
And so the disputed sort of preamble 1910, 1911 ones were again Italian grocers in New Orleans getting fucked up. So the first ones were Auguste and Harriet Cruty in August 1910. The husband got fucked up. The wife handed over $8 that she had under her pillow. And a guy called John Flannery was arrested. Now then, interestingly for Compound Media fans, who many of our listeners are, he effected entry into the premises using a railroad spike.
I was going to bring this
up. He did not rape the woman.
Just going to show you that railroad spikes can be used in non-sexual crimes.
Yes.
Before we go into all this too, I also wanted to say that the reason why there were so many Italians in New Orleans was because this is in the years after Reconstruction. Like basically there was a mass exodus of black people from the former slave areas to the north during specifically this time, and it vacated a lot of shitty jobs that they were working before. And who was there to fucking fill the job? The blacks of Europe.
Great song.
Yeah. The Italians, specifically Sicilians, and you know about the Sicilians, you see the Moors.
I think it's typically the Irish that do that globally, isn't it? But I think probably
especially where I live in Northeast, it was big time Irish.
Yeah. A bit too hot for them in Louisiana, probably.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. It is.
Yeah, Italian guys tan very well.
They do. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, they kind of take to it.
Well, it's more Southern Europe, so you know.
Yeah, and it's like pretty swampy, I would say, in Southern Italy.
But this lady was saying that a lot of the Italians came over on like seasonal work,
Right.
picking cotton and whatnot, and they would sail over to Louisiana from Italy to work there for the harvest and then go back again. Which seems
how long of a ride is that, by the way?
So, but I mean, that's
quite a commute.
Did you think they went home at weekends? Yeah. But they but obviously a lot of them thought can't be bothered to go.
Particularly these ones, because as we said before, it was all grocers, and grocery was, it provided a needed service to the other people who were kind of just crashing there in there, like doing the seasonal work. Like there's got to be somewhere cheap and that immigrants can afford to buy from, so buy from another immigrant. So these immigrants that became, permanent residents, a lot of them started groceries because it was sort of, just part and parcel of creating a little, kind of like Boston, where each neighborhood would kind of be super segregated all on its own by its own devices.
Honestly, it seems like more because immigrants tend to kind of naturally self-segregate or ghettoize or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It seems like there'd just be one family out, one couple out of the extended family would just get all the shit delivered to their house and then distribute it among the rest of their families, because in virtually all these stories, the guy next door comes round to help and he's also a grocer, or the guy across the street is also a grocer. It's like everybody's a fucking grocer. They call the English a nation of shopkeepers.
So it's possible the killer could have been one of them to get rid of the competition.
Could have been. Yeah.
Could have been. That's a theory I hadn't even considered. Yeah.
Could be the origin story of Walmart or something, couldn't it?
Yes. They found a better way. They didn't need
the Waltoniers.
Yeah.
The Martonis.
Well, maybe the Piggly Wiggly. Is that what you have down there?
There was. I don't see them much anymore.
That's more of a southeast kind of thing. That's like Georgia, South Carolina.
Yeah, I do recall one. I can try to remember if that was Lafayette or what have you, but I don't think it didn't have any staying power.
I would definitely shop at the Piggly Wiggly just because it has the best name of any shop.
Yeah, it sure does.
I also enjoy the Food Lion in North Carolina.
Yeah.
With such exciting drinks as Diet Mountain Lion.
Yeah.
And Dr. Lion.
Made of pure lion.
By the way, to the listener, pardon my, I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but there's a bunch of fucking front loaders backing up over and over again outside of my house because there's snow outside. So I apologize for that. Anyway, moving on. Where were we? So we got that in 1910 killing. How long was it again before he killed?
Well, there was another one in 1911, and I might have missed another one out between those two as well. But they were basically the same thing, where the guy would break into the house with a baseball bat and
with a railroad spike. Which, by the way,
did I say baseball bat?
I don't know why.
Baseball bat. I don't know
what the fuck is wrong with me.
Well, that's interesting. Hey,
they don't even play that sport.
He could have been the Batman, but he became Axeman.
It was Babe Ruth.
Yeah, Babe Ruth did it. Okay, so
the Babe.
Yeah, the Babe did it.
Anyway, though, no. So this is something else, though. The railroad spike thing is interesting because this kind of is, like you said before, that lady had spoke to a lot of profilers, and that was something that like career criminals was the trick essentially. So that kind of indicates that the guy who we're talking about most likely was a shifty criminal who would be in and out of prison for spates of time his entire life, kind of a Charlie Manson type.
Exactly. I mean, like, I think that it sort of speaks to the idea that it's escalating, doesn't it? Because he was probably just sneaking in people's houses and stealing stuff before, but
like the Iran's killer.
Yeah, if
he was the burglar before he killed or raped anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never heard him called the Eron's killer by anybody except you.
It stands for East Area Rapist / Original Night Stalker.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, when you got, it's almost like a rapper's name or something.
Yeah, little Eron. You fuck a nigger up.
But yeah, that's usually how they.
Ding, 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 ding.
Well, yeah. Yeah, bells are
Anyway,
important.
William, who was the second one?
The Davies, who was a guy with a 16.
Not Italian, seemingly.
No, but I think they were grocers.
But grocers, yeah.
They're grocers, see?
Yeah. He had a 16-year-old wife, so that just could have been jealousy.
Oh, well, there you go.
What did he do to him?
Not much. They were both all right, but
Okay, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but it was entry with a railroad spike into a grocery place and a bit of fucking violence, but nothing life-changing.
Right, and this is the first time he was described to the police, right, as being a kind of imposingly large figure who is kind of swarthy.
Yeah. There's that angle as well.
Well, how about
but the main thing that was a bit later on. Let me look down my list. There was a lady in one of the 1918 or 1919 attacks where the lady described the attacker as that was this was in fact
Did you buy this book? Looks like you're flipping through.
No, I've just made some notes. What Mrs. Bessemer described him as a mulatto originally,
Okay.
But I think that was a bit like the scene in Goodfellas, I reckon, because she ended up accusing her husband of doing it.
Right.
Because you got to realize that when shit like this is going down, you're going to get people a bit like we just covered the Juarez murders, Douglas, and that kind of phenomenon that were women getting murdered in Juarez has spread to Mexico, but it's not an organized thing in Mexico City. It's just people got the idea of, I'm sick and tired of listening to this bitch complaining. I'm just gonna fucking
make use of the
I'll copycat it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta wonder, because they always say we gotta worry about copycats, other crazies being activated, and it's just angry spouses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of it.
Right.
So yeah, you got to take that into consideration. Not all the killings could have been him.
Yeah.
Who was number 3?
So
how long again before he struck?
The next one I've made notes on anyway is
by the way,
widely regarded as the first one.
Sorry to stop you, but both of these were kind of noticed in the New Orleans media at the time, and they were actually describing these murders as being the cleaver killing.
Cleaver killer, yeah, because what he used to do was steal a knife from a butcher's shop, so a big meat axe or whatever.
Yeah,
from a butcher's
shop. We
know
what a cleaver is.
And then go and use that to hit people on the head with.
Right, but, which is a good way to not have a murder weapon tied to you.
It is, but by the time it started again in 1918. He changed his MO and just missed out the extra step of the butcher's shop, because everybody's house ran on burning wood for heat and cooking and whatnot. So he just used to use their own axe on him.
Right, which is funny because no one thought to just throw away all the axes.
No.
Well, then you wouldn't be able to light the fucking fire, would you?
I guess, yeah. Or hide it better.
Well, at least, hide it.
Put it under the bed.
Safely secured.
Spoken like a guy who's never relied on wood for heat.
Yeah.
I guess you're right.
Too much fucking hassle.
You fucking hick.
While he's hacking away, it's gonna be hot where you're going.
Yeah. Gonna be my fucking slave.
Yeah, you'll be my slave down in the netherworld.
You'll be chopping plenty of wood down there, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the other thing I wanted to bring? Oh, I'm sorry. I just go where as you were. My bad.
What's widely regarded to be the first one was Joseph and Catherine Maggio. Hey.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maggio.
Maggio.
So he never cut anybody's hands off because that would have rendered the mute recycled joke. These two got attacked with a fucking razor.
Yeah. First,
he slit
which
their
he
throats,
stole from a barbershop.
Yeah, he stole from the victim's brother's barber shop.
Yeah.
So you'd imagine that a grocer's shop in those days, it seems, was just like a room in somebody's house. And a barber shop was probably the same. And his brother lived next door. So it was probably, that kind of carries over from the butcher's shop MO. But he also, after he cut them up, he smashed them up with their own axe as well.
Right. He didn't get his rocks off yet.
No.
Even though he fucking practically OJ'd fucking the chick. He cut her head almost off.
Yeah. That's another element where they suspect that the targets are more of the women than it is the men.
Right.
Because, he's got some problems.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not exactly at the level of murdering Italians, but I can understand that if you're going harder at the chicks, it checks out at me that there might have some penis involved.
Yeah, somebody laughed at it, Yeah. And so,
but I mean, if it's some kind of nativist genocide campaign, it makes sense to kill the women because they're the breeders, aren't
they? Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's still a factor in there. I mean, unless that's just, he was within the community, and these are people he knew, and I became obsessed about him. But and the guy that it's only groceries.
Yeah,
it's just because that was the popular trade of the time, and for what his victims he had to choose from. But I think it takes away, because some of the ideas that he was like hired to do it, to get rid of enemies within the battles between the grocers or what have you. I'm not, maybe the early killings were like, but at this point, no, he's a serial killer who has this compulsion to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it seems like. I mean, there is kind of a sensationalist and, dare I say, fairly lazy tendency for people to say, oh, it's probably the mafia and these people weren't paying their protection money or something.
Yeah,
but that's just a little bit too on the nose, isn't it? I mean, it could have something that had struck to me, another, it could have been,
it's a little bit too on the crucifix.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is this, but it's around the right time in history to have been propaganda of the deed, just by somebody with very narrow horizons, going after the little capitalist.
Yeah, that's true. So also you mentioned that the brother came and found the bodies, and he was the guy whose razor was used in the murders. And of course, by the way, the police instantly thought it must have been him.
Yes. Which it may have been, I guess, but
this could be all fake news.
Yeah, he'd just been.
He took advantage. Of course, they're the first one, so I don't know. He can't take advantage of the kill spree.
He wasn't an anarchist, the brother, because he'd just got his call-up papers for the draft, thank
God the war was over.
Just about.
Well, it was just about to be over. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he'd got himself absolutely shit-faced, and he heard noises coming out of the apartment, but it took him a while to go and investigate. And so the police thought that was suspicious and arrested him. And he said, well, I was shit-faced. And that was his alibi, was I was fucking shit-faced. And they arrested him and brought him in, but I don't think they charged that guy.
No.
Shit-face was a good alibi at the time. And they said, well, all right.
He's a fucking Italian immigrant. Of course he's drunk, laying about, doing nothing.
Well, we have a thing in England called the hip flask defense for for drinking and driving. So if you know you're shit-faced and you're driving, and if you get in an accident or something, it helps to have a hip flask on you, even if it's empty, because then you can just say you drank it after the accident because you were
okay.
so upset.
okay.
You needed something to calm your nerves, and you knew you weren't going to be driving anymore because your car wouldn't work anymore. So
Yeah.
I just downed this bottle of whiskey.
Has this worked?
Yeah, it works.
Oh well.
But nobody ever does it.
Oh, okay.
Pe-
You have to
there's
be
this-
pretty trash to try to pull that. That's like a
Yeah.
Trailer Park Boys move.
Well, people have this
Yeah.
tendency. People have this pathological tendency to cooperate with the police and answer questions truthfully.
Yeah,
I
they
hope-
all wear the same outfit. I better
They
listen.
ask you, before they breathalyze you, they ask you
Yeah.
when you last had a drink, because they don't do field sobriety tests here. They just say
They don't?
no. If you're in an accident, you get breathalyzed.
Really? That's funny.
Or they can breathalyze you anytime they stop you if they
Sure.
suspect.
Yeah, the way it works here is it's kind of like up to the cop. It's like one of the last few vestiges of fucking like the ability of cops and citizens to be palsies.
Yeah.
Is like the cop gets to decide whether it's time for the field sobriety, and even if he can tell you've been drinking but sees that you're doing well in the field sobriety test,
Yeah.
there's a chance he might let you go if you're sweet to him.
Yeah, I mean, like they don't have to breathalyze you every time they stop you here.
Right.
There is discretion there, but if they want to, they will.
Right.
Basically,
If they're an asshole.
Yeah.
Dude, I gotta
Catch him
tell
at
this.
the
I
right
gotta-
moment. Do you really
Dude,
want to do this? Nah.
yeah.
Dude, my friend, somebody we know, William. I don't say his name in the show, but he's still an old friend. He had the police report that was mailed to the house after his dad got bagged for drunk driving,
Mhm.
and it was so fun. It's like it said something like, Mr. X said that he wasn't able to perform the walking in a straight line portion of this field sobriety test because his back hurt. And his back wouldn't let him do that. And he repeated this several times. And then there's something else was like, after I issued the drunk driving ticket, Mr. X proceeded to inform me that I was an asshole and could have let him go. It was so funny. We had it fucking hung up on the wall, and every time he saw it, he'd be like, fucking. It was very, very funny. Sorry, I had to get that little anecdote.
It's very different
Thought
here.
about that forever. He
Yeah.
proceeded to inform me that I was an asshole. I love that.
There are very few people in England who find drink driving funny or like acceptable. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Most people are thoroughly propagandized against it.
I was very good at it when I did it.
I've never done it.
Wink.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next murder. So how long after was this?
So we're up to
That-
1918, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's, so that was May 23rd, 1918. So not much longer. June 27, 1918, the Jew gets struck.
Well, he's got to check that box, you know. So.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Those are the rules.
You mentioned before the guy's name was Louis Bessemer,
Yeah.
and he was with his chick on the side, Harriet Lowe. Neither of which were Italian, by the way.
Yeah,
And
but
also, I'm not even
Jews
sure.
look a bit Italian.
Yeah, they do. There's sometimes there is some confusion between that. I've been asked if I'm Italian before.
Yeah.
I used to go to an Italian restaurant when I was in my 20s. That was really nice and
Were they
inexpensive.
serving matzo ball soup and pickled herring and
No.
stuff?
It's the other way around. I used to wear this. I had this T-shirt of my own design that had a big orange. It's a black T-shirt with a big orange Star of David on it. And I
Why?
just innocently. Anyway, I've been going there for I don't know about a year.
Really into Saturn worship?
every so often, and this there was this chick on this college course I was on. She says, "Oh," and she works as the receptionist at this restaurant. And she says, "Oh, right, hello, how are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, blah blah blah." And she says, "You know, the waiters all hate you." I says, "Why?" They think you're a Jew. I got a big nose and I was wearing a Star of David.
You call that a big nose? Look at my profile. Look at one of these things is not like the other.
Speaking of profiling.
Anyway, but so what happened was he oh no, it says his grocery store. Okay, so yeah.
See, it's more the groceries than the ethnicity.
Yeah. He was struck.
Maybe this guy just liked brown paper bags.
He was just picking some up and thought he might do something fun while he was there.
Yeah.
He was struck with a hatchet above his right temple, which resulted in a possible skull fracture. The chick was hacked over the left ear and found unconscious when police arrived at the scene. And they were discovered by the baker who was dropping off the rolls for the grocery store, who, by the way, was charged with the murder.
Well, hey, he was there. So
this one does look like it was, in fact, the husband that did it.
Yeah,
because he didn't want the police involved. He was conscious when the baker or whoever it was managed to rouse him, and he was saying, "Oh no, don't involve the police." And Bessemer ended up being a suspect right to the end of this fucking thing, didn't he?
Right. Also, another thing is that he was, I think the general consensus now is that he was a German spy.
Yeah.
And he also, by the way, had stuff in Yiddish, which is why I said he was a Jew. So this ties in. Maybe he was a proto-Mossad.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You go into the grocery business.
In New Orleans, that's what. Yeah.
Those Italians are going to be fascists someday.
It seems here that the next person also at least had a German last name, Schneider, not maybe not the Jewish spelling. Also, so that Lowe lady who got hit once, she survived it, but then they tried to fix her face up and killed her.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay to be fucking vain.
Jeez, the early days of plastic surgery.
Right?
Don't be the first one.
No.
I mean, sort of surgery was mainly just amputations in those days, so maybe they thought,
I would think so.
Yeah, we'll just amputate the head.
Basically, the entire
it's really ugly. We'll just take that off. Oh, damn, she died. Oh.
Basically, the entire art was created as in response to the World War I, by the way. The idea of reconstructive facial surgery and stuff. It was basically
World War.
There was so many
And then people were wearing masks and stuff because their noses were blown off and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if and yet they had a flu pandemic as well.
That year.
Yeah.
That very
So
year.
they did, they were wearing masks anyway.
Everybody was the same.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to say here is that this was as we said before, in 1918. During this time period, our old friend J. Edgar Hoover had already developed the fingerprinting system.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say vacuum cleaner.
No, not that Hoover. Nor the damn guy.
Yeah.
But no, so it was an existing, and they apparently in one of the documentaries I listened to said that the New Orleans police had the capability to take fingerprints of these murder weapons, and they declined to because they didn't understand it and were too confounded by cities or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody likes new. It's against human nature to start doing things a new way, isn't it?
Yeah,
right. Especially when it's made
need
up
these
by
outsiders coming in here with their science and stuff,
fingerprints.
Yeah.
especially systems created by self-hating cross-dressers.
I know.
In the case of J. Edgar Hoover.
There's something ain't right about that boy. I ain't listening to him.
So then the next person was, hang on, how much more after? So again, another month later, 20 days later, seemingly, way less, Jesus Christ, 7 days later, in August 5th, in the early evening hours. So this is like 7 o'clock. This is news to me. But 8 months pregnant, 28-year-old Elmira Street awoke to stand over, to find a dark figure standing over, and was bashed in the face repeatedly. Her scalp had been cut open and her face was covered in blood. And at midnight, her husband, Ed Schneider, returned late home from work and found her. And she claimed that she remembered nothing of the attack and had just gone back to bed, and 2 days later gave birth.
Yeah. It's a good woman. She's a keeper.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to keep her after the fucking axe wound in the forehead.
Yeah, the bitch can take a punch.
That's true. But yeah, also that same night, Anna Schneider also was killed, I believe.
Do you think a lot of these people, obviously the difficulty for the police in getting descriptions and stuff when all the victims had been hit very hard on the head, and as the portrayal of what happens when you got hit on the head in the early movies of that age was you get hit on the head,
your head explodes like in Scanners.
No, you just forget everything. You forget everything, and the cure for it is to be hit on the head again.
Oh yeah, the Bugs Bunny rule.
Yeah. So they slapped her around.
Yeah.
That's what she said. Oh yeah, I remember this giant dark figure standing over me. There, see? All you gotta do is slap her around.
When she got hit, it sounded like someone took a spoon and hit a pot. Yeah, maybe the reason why all these people getting hit by the axe guy is because he was a pussy. He barely could lift the axe.
Yeah, could be.
And he just let the weight of it come down on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know if I was going to kill somebody with an axe, I don't even know if I'd come down. I'd probably swing it like a baseball bat, because like the temple's the weak part of the head, right?
Yeah, but
the top of the head's kind of tough.
These people who burn firewood all the time have sharp axes.
True.
So like, I think he was kind of just playing. Like, he killed very few people. I think he killed six out of 12 people that he hit.
Yeah. Well, not counting those butcher.
Yeah.
The earlier ones.
Guys.
Yeah. So it's like maybe there were low ceilings or something. Maybe that was what it was, and he couldn't get a good swing in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine they were particularly palatial residences, but I don't know. What are they old?
No.
I mean, these will have been slums, basically. I imagine, Douglas.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. It was
shanty
pretty
town type shit.
Hang on, maybe you can tell me where, if you know the area at all. It's apparently this at least this past one was on Elmira Street. Do you know where that is?
I don't know the street.
I'm sure you'd be dead if you were there now.
Yes. But they were very compact places, like you said. That's the store was the home, and they would be in the back room and that sort of thing, and all of that. And I kind of wondered if, like, he's swinging the axe, if it got stuck in the ceiling a couple of times. He had to wrench it out. But as for the different area, I can't quite recall. They show photos of the time and all that, but other than the French Quarter, nothing, everything's like very different.
Right.
From those
a lot
days.
of projects, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. But in a lot of ways, nothing's changed. I'm sure the NOPD is just as clever as they were then.
Yeah.
We had a similar, even into when I was old enough to drive. So like probably into my early 20s, there was still, because I'm a country boy up in the hill country of Yorkshire, and there would be, typically it'd be the wife, a farmer's wife, who had a place that was near a main road, their farm was near a main road, but in the middle of nowhere, would have some kind of arrangement like this. So typically they would have in their dining room a cafe, so they'd have 3 or 4 tables, and they would cook ham and eggs at lunchtime.
Like a bed and breakfast without the bed.
Yeah, so it would only be open at lunchtime, and you could go in and you get ham and eggs with homemade bread and a cup of tea. It was fucking great, I'll tell you that, right? And in Ireland, that kind of thing is, I think it's dying out, but in rural Ireland, there'll be just, in a small village, there'll just be one person, and their house is their house, a pub, and a shop. So it's kind of just, you go in there in the ale house, and I guess it's one way of getting the guys to do the shopping, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real it's a real Dungeons and Dragons kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Well, all the permits and license fees put it into that.
Yeah.
So,
Probably, yeah.
That's really what it is.
They are cracking away at Ireland. I'll say this. I've been listening to some stuff about Ireland lately, and apparently, like, it's getting harder and harder to be in what you would imagine Ireland is like, and it's becoming all San Franciscoized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which sucks, to say the least. But anyway,
I don't think they'll ever be ankle deep in human shit in Dublin, because somebody will just if you try taking a shit on the streets of Dublin, someone will kick your fucking head in.
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, we'll have to get Colin Terrell on here to confirm this, but I can't see that shit flying in Dublin.
Some shiftless globalists have moved in recently, and they think that there should be a lot more immigration to Ireland.
Yeah.
Really though, there's like, actually, I think there's like an incentive to move there now. Foreign workers, even Americans, are included in that too. They're trying to really fucking flush it out and make it like a new tech, hub.
Oh, jeez, yeah. So
But
I don't know.
anyway.
Once they are able to pack it in there, then maybe someday they'll allow the shit on the street.
Yeah, maybe.
The
green
will give way to brown.
Well, that's how they like a rugby pitch on a rainy day. I'm quite poetic tonight.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Okay, it's fine. We'll move on.
We'll get back to the hacking.
Yeah.
As in the attacks, not the comedy.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Ginzo slashing. Joseph Romano was an elderly man living with his 2 nieces.
I think this is the saddest one, because everybody loves Joe.
Oh, well, somebody did.
August 10th, so 5 days later, his 2 nieces, Pauline and Mary Bruno, woke to the sound of the commotion in the adjoining room where the uncle lived. Upon entering the room, the sisters discovered that their uncle had taken a serious blow to the head, which resulted in 2 open cuts. The assailant was fleeing the scene as they arrived. I can't help but picture like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Like when the bad guy just gets away and they're trying to, I can't help it. He looks like, has a big trench coat on, and it's up over his eyes, and he's wearing a fedora, and you can see glowing eyes behind.
And he was probably wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it turned out to be their landlord or whatever.
Yeah. And they said this was the best description that anyone had, because it was by someone who wasn't being attacked. It was a dark-skinned, heavy-set man who wore a dark suit and a slouched hat.
Shout out Patrice O'Neill.
He was able to walk although he was seriously injured, he was able to walk to the ambulance, but he died 2 days later due to the head trauma. And the guy ransacked the house, but nothing was stolen again. And the axe was recovered in the backyard. And again, he used the same exact railroad spike trick.
Yeah. Well, it's very. You can sort of see the whole mafia trope, can't you? Because that whole, drop the
Professional
weapon
criminal.
drop the weapon on the way out, and then you won't be caught with it.
Right.
Which
I can definitely see that.
Sort of what was amounted to a pre-fingerprint era. There's no reason not to do that, is there at all?
Right.
For that guy.
Yeah.
Even if they could technically have done fingerprints, they never.
They could have. They just didn't
so,
want to.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like it.
I'm not fucking around with this newfangled thing. I have friends who still won't have a mobile phone.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, it's fucking great, isn't it?
Based. I might go so far as to say.
But how many lives have been lost because they just won't get with the program?
Well, that's it. Yeah.
See how many lives were lost because New Orleans just wouldn't fingerprint. So
yeah,
you've got to accept the technology.
Or how many lives have to be lost? Just people just won't wear a goddamn 2 masks and get vaccinated.
Correction, it's 4 now.
Oh God, I don't want to get caught with that. But it's only 2.
Exactly. I know, how embarrassing.
Yeah. So hang on, did I miss? Okay, no. So the next one was in. By the way, across the Mississippi River in the suburb of Gretna.
Oh yeah. He kind of left the territory for a bit.
Yeah. And also he waited, we don't know if it was the same guy. I mean, we're assuming it is, but
yeah.
He waited until the next spring, so he took the winter off.
Sure, it's cold. Come on.
This again points in a certain direction.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Happy Crime History Month.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Anyway, what's it called? So speaking of which, though, when I was listening to a podcast about this, I kept mishearing the name of this family as Coniglia.
Oh God! Oh, no.
But apparently it was Cordamiglia.
That's better.
Yeah.
It's probably pronounced Cordemelia anyway.
Well, that's kind of an anglicization, I think. Oh, maybe, I don't know. I'm Jewish. Anyway, so the corner of Jefferson Avenue and 2nd Street in Gretna, and screams were heard coming from the residents. Another grocer rushed across the street to investigate, and noticed that Charles Cordamiglia, his wife, and their daughter had all been attacked by an unknown intruder. The wife
immediately ran out into the street and said, "Is there a grocer in the house? We need grocers here."
Fuck. 3 guys come running with a big long French bread and some celery with the fucking leaves on the end.
Put a stretcher between 2 bicycles. They put the baby in the basket on the shop bike.
Yeah.
Well, the daughter was dead at the time that the first responders arrived. The first grocer responders arrived.
Well, they're essential. They're heroes.
Yes, that's true. They are in the same class now. What's it called though? So, and the couple were both alive but seriously wounded, and they were rushed to the hospital, where it was discovered that both of them had their heads fractured. And again, nothing was stolen, but again, the fucking railroad spike trick, same MO. And the bloody axe in the back porch of the house. So, same MO. Apparently they both survived though. So.
Yeah, but the daughter didn't, and the neighbors got framed for it.
Right, and then later, of course, bitch lied, and later came back. came out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 65-year-old guy and his 18-year-old son from next door. I don't think she really did snitch on him. I think that, you get these are relatively first generation original immigrants, and from Sicily, very suspicious of the authorities, and the husband just didn't give any description and said that it wasn't what the wife said, but the wife according to the police, she told them it was these two neighbor guys, but she never said
neighbor.
She never said it to any. She never said it to anybody else. She never said it in court. But nonetheless they got convicted, and the young one got sentenced to death. But she eventually recanted.
Right.
Not.
It says out of jealousy and spite.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I think I think it's just the police. Some journalist had spoken to her, and he said she just answers yes to everything, because she probably couldn't even speak English. She just says yes.
I see.
So in all likelihood, the police had just said, "Was it these guys that we can come with? That we're trying to fit up?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's it." And they never even produced. She supposedly signed an affidavit, which they didn't even produce that in court. So it was fucking bullshit, and that was literally the only evidence they had against these people. But the justice system, you can trust. To be honest, looking at this, the justice system was a lot more humane then than it is now. These people did get released.
Oh yeah, but then Sacco and Vanzetti was the same time period.
Yeah. I mean, but
same sub race of people too.
Yeah. But even then, that came up there that the what was it called, Galliani, after he got exiled back to Italy, got charged with sedition by Mussolini and got sentenced to 14 months.
That's true.
So it's like the fascist strongman only locked people up for 14 months, whereas like nowadays they'd bury you under the Supermax or something like that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, mandatory minimums, baby.
Yeah. So I think there was the
thank you, Reagan.
At least the judiciary, by the time you got to an appeals court or something, probably did take sort of Enlightenment values pretty seriously in those days.
Yeah.
More so than now.
Oh, everything is eroding very rapidly,
isn't it? Just
as we now, it's just absolutely insane, because it's like you look at stories back like this is, oh my God, how backward and stuff, and now it's like, well,
yeah. Yeah, so, they did let those guys out.
Yeah. Gotta give them that.
Yeah. Oh fuck. So again, he took a couple months off. From
he had to
got a little hot. Got a little hot.
Yeah.
And another grocer, Steve Boca, was attacked in his bedroom by an axe-wielding intruder in August, and he awoke during the night to find a dark figure looming over his bed. And upon regaining consciousness, he ran to the street to investigate the intrusion and found that his head had been cracked open.
Right.
Oh man, don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah.
Wait, what's this?
Oh man.
He was just scratching. He found out because he was scratching his head like Stan Laurel.
Yeah. His hands all bloody.
No,
is that brain on my hand? No wonder I can't remember. My memories are literally in my hand.
Now, let me play devil's advocate here. No pun intended, because this was the first murder after the emergence of the letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me play devil's advocate here, though. It said he mentions that a dark figure was looming over his bed, and when he regained consciousness, he ran to the street and noticed, without any memory of the attack, that his head had been cracked open. Now, let me play devil's advocate. Doesn't that sound pretty similar to sleep paralysis? dark figure looming over the bed.
Oh yeah, all the shadow
extreme
people
paranoia.
stuff. Yeah.
And who's to say that in his thrashing during his sleep paralysis episode, didn't fall out of the bed and smash his head on the corner of the fucking table
Yeah, it's possible.
or the floor?
I mean, if only we could have had the forensic investigation of his wound and say, does it match up with an axe attack and that sort of thing?
Well,
then you would know.
Nowadays,
likely that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, forensics would clear it up now because they'd just be able to test the semen on his face for whether it was.
Oh, you can do that, huh? Oh,
Yeah.
oh shit.
But the reason I say that though is because this is, as I said before, the first person who was attacked after that letter. I'm sure it was fucking Axeman fever going on, where everyone's falling over themselves to be connected to this. And he was a grocer and an eye tie, so why wouldn't you fucking think maybe I just had a mysterious incident in which I was injured?
Well, they are vain creatures, aren't they?
Damn grocers. They think they are.
Yeah. Italians are kind of like the only type of dude who will like get a manicure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next person who was attacked was on September 3rd, a few months later. And it was another Jew, Sarah Jew, Lauman, 2 N's Jew, was attacked on the night of September 3rd. Neighbors came to check on the young woman who had lived alone.
19
years old. Broke into the home when she didn't answer. And they discovered, hang on, my bad. So the neighbors came to check on the young woman who had lived alone and broke into the home when she did not answer, discovered her lying unconscious on her bed, suffering from a severe head injury and missing several teeth. The intruder had entered the apartment through an open window and attacked the woman with a blunt object. A bloody axe was discovered on the front lawn of the building. Lauman recovered from her injuries, yet couldn't recall any details from the attack. Again, this begs the question. It completely veers away from the MO of the killer. This could be a copycat, and this guy maybe got turned down by this fucking uptight Jewish bitch.
Well, that definitely sounds like the blunt end of the axe as well, doesn't it?
Right.
If it's not teeth out.
He knocked her teeth out,
Yeah.
If you're going to hit somebody hard enough with the sharp end of an axe to knock the teeth out, you're going to do some serious fucking damage further back, aren't you?
Right.
You're going to be taking the tonsils as well.
So there's a lot of these cases that you can, you can make that they're copycats, and then there's just coincidence that there was another murder, and that sort of how many were actually this one guy who, for all intents and purposes, was the Axeman, and you could probably go through each one. How many of them match up perfectly with the MO and are repetitive of the other ones?
Right.
And then you end up with like maybe 3 or 4 that you can say are that, because it's like even with you go back to Jack the Ripper and there's other killings before and after that, and most people rule them out. It's possible it's the same guy, but you don't have enough there to really connect them.
Right. Yeah,
and it's like, go ahead.
The more we're talking about it, the more it does seem that most of them are just things that I don't know. Somebody gets into a thing and says, "Oh, I know, I'll hit it with an axe. It'll get blamed on this fucking serial killer dude."
Yeah. Plus, the documentation is not that great.
No, it's all like accounts from the people who found them, or
and the big letter thing is what really stirred it up. So it becomes this urban myth for New Orleans, and then all the people, we better have our jazz going because that's what he liked.
Yeah, we didn't even mention
so that little event becomes more of the thing than the actual killings themselves.
Yeah, in that letter that we mentioned before, at the end of it, he says. And again, this was published on March 13th, 1919. This was like right after the last killing, before that Boca guy. But he says in the end of the letter says, now to be exact, at 12:15 Earth, on next Tuesday night, I'm going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I'm going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I'm very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz, well, then so much for the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that some of you people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. And apparently that night, that the first Tuesday after this letter was published, almost everybody went out
Went to the
either
jazz
a club or they bought jazz. Right, there was like a run on jazz records at the record store.
So clearly, the author of the letter was either the owner of a jazz club or jazz club record store, and was also the original 4chan troll.
I was just gonna fucking say that.
I'm sorry. But that's exactly
what it was, dude.
Yeah.
My second wife used to refer to her genitals. She was an absolute master of the malapropism, and she used to refer to her genitals as the nether regions.
So the devils of the nether region.
Yeah. But it was never regions because that's how we got to go there.
Bit of a Rickyism.
Yeah.
Speaking of Trailer Park Boys. But yeah, so that really adds to the whole mystique of the story. The urban mythiness of it is that it resulted in some literal social interaction, and culture was built kind of because of the result of this episode in history.
It's kind of like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds deal.
Exactly. It was a moment in time that the entire city of New Orleans experienced together.
Had it not happened, it would have been even more obscure. Case of murders.
And like we've talked about this historical period before, and how, sort of popular literature had really been around for about 100 years at this point.
Sure.
But it's gradually worked its way down the social scale so that most people can probably
even immigrants read.
Yeah, most people can probably read at this point. So it's reached literacy's reached a critical mass to have a mass hysteria event. Yeah. Whereas if it had been even 50 years before, probably not enough people would have been able to read to even.
That's a good point.
Know about it.
And so finally, the final murder of the string was October 27th that year, and it was Mike Pepitone.
Yeah.
And in which his wife was, so the night of October 27th, his wife was awakened by a noise and arrived at the door of his bedroom just as a large axe-wielding man was fleeing the scene. He had been struck in the head and was covered in his own blood, and it splattered across the majority of the room, including, this is such an Italian detail. The blood splatter had covered the majority of the room, including a painting of the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
No.
The guy who was fleeing was a gentle axe-wielding giant. An aspiring architect.
An aspiring rapper, scholar, if you will.
Well, a poet.
He looked like he was getting his life together.
Yeah, exactly. He was just about to do it when he went in and axed somebody to death.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is where this story gets interesting. He died, Pepitone died, of course, and that year, or later that year, his wife, Mary, I want to say.
Yeah, he gets a pretty sketchy about this, about that she kills a man she claimed was the killer.
She moved to LA.
Yeah.
She moved to LA. Hang on, where we go?
And shot Bessemer.
No, his name was Mumfrey.
Mumfrey.
Right.
Totally
that's
different guy.
Yeah.
Now that's a name that gets thrown around. I'm forgetting exactly. There was some case. There's been several Mumfreys, Manfreys, Momfreys.
Yes.
Momfrey. And so there was somebody like that. There was someone named Doc Momfrey or something involved in some killings or crimes or whatnot, and they suspected him. And but the Los Angeles incident, apparently, some of these criminologists who researched the story can't really clarify that it ever even happened. That she was there, that she killed anybody. So I don't know. But that
That
the idea
lady
that she
that,
knew the killer and killed him, maybe. But
Right. Apparently, what the incident was that Mumfrey came to her new husband's house and said to her, and this was after he came to her. Sorry, he had shot her husband in L.A., her new husband, and came to her house to demand money from her, and said, "I'm going to kill you just like I killed your husband." Big wink there.
Yeah.
So she said, "Just have a nice cup of tea. Sit there. I'm just going to go get the money."
Get on with it then.
Pulled out a revolver and blew his brains out.
Then went and got another one and emptied that one out as well.
Yeah,
allegedly. So he did. She's better at killing than this axe faggot.
Kill my husband once, shame on you. Kill my husband twice, you can't kill my husband. Anyway, that was off the dome, ladies and gentlemen. What's it called? So so that guy Mumfrey died. But here's the thing that's interesting. His police records do indicate that he spent some time in Louisiana, and also it indicates that he was in the years preceding 1912, which was the end of the Cleaver murders.
Yeah.
He was in jail shortly after that period ended and was released from prison in Louisiana right before the second spree of Axeman killings occurred. So this, by all accounts, it very well could have been this Mumfrey guy.
Yeah,
could have been, or it could have
been involved in some of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
I think it seems to me, not that it makes a difference what I think, but it seems to me like more of a popular movement.
The anti-Italian movement.
So this guy was just
the anti-pasta movement.
Yeah. He was maybe just a ringleader.
They were virulent anti-spaghettics.
That's a great one.
Shout out Stone for that one. He was the guy whose dad was the drunk traffic pilot. Anyway, so that's there was never another murder attributed to the Axeman in Louisiana or anywhere else, but the legend of the Axeman of New Orleans went on many years, and he was the character, at least, was featured in a number of fucking adaptations into fiction.
Yeah.
In 1919, a guy named Joseph John Davila wrote a jazz song called "The Mysterious Axeman's Jazz." Don't scare me, Papa. And it was kind of inspired by that letter. About the fact that,
or possibly written by the same person.
Yeah, this could be him. Oh my God! That's it, folks. We wrapped it up. There you go.
You got to get those jazz records sold somehow.
Yeah. And also, he was famously referenced in Chuck Palahniuk book. There's he was heavily featured in that shitty American Horror Story show.
Yeah, I actually saw that one, which is a very shitty show.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
My teenage daughter watched it, which just shows that it's terrible.
And Unsolved Murders.
Do you think? I mean, I think it probably does, but to what extent, Douglas, do you think that this legend and this
John Oliver brought him up on the show.
Stop saying
wow, that's something.
Listen, you can say the N-word on this podcast, but don't say that word. Do you think is it any coincidence that his initials are J.O.?
J.O.? Yeah. Oh, John Oliver. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, it took me a second.
Yeah.
So, do you think that there's some element of this, maybe only marginal, that the letter and the legend of this thing is part of the reason why jazz remains popular in New Orleans. The people, there's some kind of, it helps ward off evil spirits kind of.
I thought it was the
vibe to it.
blacks.
Yeah, well, well, you're right. So is rock and roll, but certainly it adds to the mystique of the area. But like with New Orleans, it's it's all supernatural voodoo and stuff like that is used to kind of give it some spice and whatnot. And so something like this. So again, yeah, we do come back to the letter incident gives it more. It makes it sexier than it ordinarily would be.
Yeah.
Without it. And so yeah, it we could just see it did help jazz even momentarily. And then it's kind of this spooky story that the same reason people.
Whoa!
Oh my God! Oh, Jays, I am so very sorry. I apologize for my white
Black
privilege.
History Month.
I immediately will cancel myself. You will never hear from me again. I will lose my job tomorrow and starve to death living under a bridge until they force me out.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the story. Yeah, sorry. That's part of the allure to it. So I think there is a pretty strong point to make that it certainly contributed to popularity of jazz.
Yeah. So what was it, the voodoo thing? Is there a big Haitian diaspora there from way back, or is it just
there's a crossover to some extent,
or is it sort of the French African slaves sort of?
Yeah.
More of a shared heritage before Haiti, or is there?
Now I haven't really looked enough in it to compare the two, but it's definitely there. It's more powerful in Haiti even to this day about the aspects of it. But it's certainly the myths and whatnot are there. And the closer you get to the areas of New Orleans, there's more people more knowledgeable of it, and there's all kind of characters and myths about people who supposedly had powers and whatnot, and that sort of thing. So voodoo plays a lot into the culture of it.
Yeah, I would like to visit there someday.
It's fun to visit.
Yeah. Well, it's like
there's cool things there to look into and all of
that. Good seafood, so I hear.
Yeah, well, it's Louisiana. We're supposed to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's good stuff there. Yeah, and New Orleans can be fun from time to time to visit and whatnot. And there's all kind of cool things like that. Certainly the cool looking graveyard, which looks like a city unto itself, because turns out they're below sea level, so you can't bury anything in New Orleans. So there's that atmosphere is definitely there, and you want to experience it and all that. But the other aspects of it, it's just another crappy city.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely a country boy, so like I don't mind going to a city for maybe 3 days to visit, to get there, get drunk, stay drunk for 3 days, and then leave and go get drunk somewhere else. But
that's a good plan.
I'm never at home in the city, but I'll tolerate one for a few days just to check it out.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, I guess that is I think that's a great summation of the story. So
we touched on the historical movements going on at the time and all that.
I like it.
It's one of those things where something happened, but most of it's a lot of made up crap.
Yeah. That's the
always
perfect
the wait for the best stories.
The better the story is, the more likely it's.
Anyway, Doug, what would you like to plug, my friend?
Well, let's see. I do have a podcast called The Mr. Nelson Show on radiomisfits.com. There are new episodes every Saturday. There's a bit of political commentary on it. And then I do these audio plays doing parodies of Batman, Superman, and Star Trek, and Doctor Who, and stuff like that. And
I'm in such a Trek hole right now, by the way.
Oh, really?
I'm rewatching TNG again, and it's dude, Willem, you got to take the Trek pill, bro.
Well, I'm doing the same thing. I've started rewatching from the beginning, the original one, and when I get through, I'm going to go through all of them. And I do that on YouTube on my other little project called Nelson Ratings.
Nice.
And so I review a lot of
clever.
old shows and current ones. Yeah. Well, that was Bob Levy's idea, actually.
Right.
Friend of the show.
Yeah. Oh, great. And so and mostly out of just furious anger as to what happened to Star Trek, just like every other franchise today
Right.
in the current era. And so even the really weaker episodes seem like masterpiece. But the crap they put out now.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that Nelson Train show. I've listened on and off to your other show where you do the plays, and to do that every week must take a hell of a lot of time, because there's a lot of writing involved and a lot of fucking work recording it. They're
Well,
really
it is all
dense.
just me. So
Yeah, I know, but it's like, well, I mean, I'm full of admiration. I really enjoy them. I think they're great.
Oh, thank you very much. It's something I've been doing since I was a child, and it became an obsessive addiction. So there's no hope of me ever getting out of it. And so it kind of, especially the Batman one, comes very just like that. It's very, and so a couple of hours, I'll put the tracks down, and then when with the free time I have, and then I can put in the extras. Some are a little better than others of the time that runs out. But I do appreciate it, and it's just when it's fun to do, it's not work, and so it makes it a little easier. And all
so it's
that.
something you can't help but do anyway, so you might as well.
Right, there's no point in trying to quit it. It's not going to happen.
And I'll put a link to all that stuff in the description of the show, by the way. So you can go check that out for all your Douglas Nelson needs.
Yeah.
As the one Anthony Cumia says.
Other things I'm known for is the Photoshop. So if you want to look for at
big
Mr.
fan.
Nelson,
I've been following you on Instagram for 6 years, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those are on there. You can follow me. I don't post them to Twitter as much because I keep expecting to be banned from. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know that Twitter has much of a future at this point. So there's, of course, I went to Gab and Minds. I was on Parler, but well, they got the cool kids mad, and so there's a lot of them there too. And Facebook, of course. And so, but mostly Instagram will have all those. So if you want to look at those, you can find them at Mr. Nelson on Instagram.
Yeah.
So for the audio version of our show, you can visit www.historyhomos.com. Anywhere you find podcasts. You can follow us across social media at History Homos Pod. William will be happy to get back to you. You can follow me on Instagram at Scott Lizard Abrams. And I also Twitch stream, usually not very exciting games, www.twitch.tv/historyhomos. Please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. William always reminds me to write a review of us. Also for the video, if you're listening, the video version of the show can be found on YouTube, either by searching History Homos or by following the link in any of the bios of our social media accounts. Don't let the small get you down, ladies and gentlemen. William, what would you like to leave the ladies and gentlemen with?
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Later, homos.
All right.
Hang on a
That
second.
That was great, Doug.
Thank you.
I think I've been thinking about it, and